In the Great Hall of the Galactic Concord, where the fates of stars were decided, humanity was put on trial. We were the newcomers, a young and boisterous species, expanding with an energy the ancient races had long forgotten. They called our ambition aggression. They called our progress a crime. They gathered their fleets, the combined might of a dozen star-faring empires, and they delivered their ultimatum. Surrender your freedom, or face utter annihilation. They expected us to kneel. They expected us to beg. They never, ever, expected us to laugh. What secret so powerful could make an entire civilization laugh in the face of a 10,000-ship armada? When the Concord's greatest weapons prove useless against an impossible defense, what terrifying truth about humanity will be revealed? And what happens when the most powerful empire in the galaxy realizes they have walked into a trap that has been 8 years in the making, and the species they called primitive is about to rewrite the laws of physics? The Galactic Council ordered humanity to surrender. Earth laughed. Before we begin this chronicle of defiance, take a moment to subscribe. Your support is the energy that powers our signal. Like this video, and join our journey into the heart of the story. Alright, let's begin the story. Then, Captain Kalen Thorne stood in the center of the Great Hall, a lone human figure in a sea of alien power. The air hummed with the sound of 100 translation devices, turning the clicks, whistles, and subsonic rumbles of the assembled delegates into a language he could understand. Beside him, his sister, Dr. Eris Thorne, silently recorded every word, every gesture, her bio-integrated sensors capturing details no normal eye could see. High Chancellor Valerius of the Velcari Empire rose from his throne-like seat. He was a tall, impossibly thin being with shimmering silver skin, a creature of immense age and power. His voice echoed through the hall, cold and sharp. The human known as Kalen Thorne, Valerius began. You stand before the Galactic Concord accused of high crimes. Your species has expanded into protected sectors. You have established military outposts on worlds claimed by Concord members long before your ancestors learned to make fire. Kalen did not move. His hands remained at his sides, his breathing steady. Eris continued her silent recording, her expression as neutral as his. Another council member stood, an insectoid Krisk with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. The Krisk Dominion has evidence. The creature's voice rasped like metal on stone. Human ships have been sighted in the Outer Rim sectors. These areas have been ours for 5,000 years. Humans have no right to be there. More accusations followed. The bird-like Ethons complained about human mining operations creating unharmonious vibrations. The blob-shaped Hydrians whined about human research stations violating their personal space. Each species had a list of grievances, each more ridiculous than the last. Eris noticed something interesting. The aliens were angry, but they also seemed scared. Their voices were a little too loud. Their gestures a little too quick. They were trying very hard to project an authority they were no longer sure they possessed. Captain Thorne finally spoke, his voice calm and clear, cutting through the noise. The Galactic Concord speaks of crimes, but humanity has broken no laws. We have built our bases on empty planets and dead moons. If other species had prior claims to these places, why did they leave them barren for millennia? High Chancellor Valerius slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed like thunder. Silence, he shouted. Humans are a young species. You have no right to question races that ruled this galaxy when your kind was still hiding in caves. Your aggressive expansion must stop, or there will be consequences. Kalen raised one eyebrow, but said nothing more. The Concord members began to confer among themselves in hushed tones. After several minutes, Valerius stood again, his composure regained. The Galactic Concord has made its decision, he announced. Humanity has 72 standard hours to remove all military forces from space beyond your home system. You will dismantle your fleets. You will cede your outer colonies. And you will accept Concord observers on all human worlds to ensure your peaceful development. The hall fell silent. If humanity refuses these generous terms, Valerius continued, his voice dripping with menace, the combined fleets of the Galactic Concord will destroy every human ship, station, and colony in space. Your species will be locked on your cradle world forever, a galactic preserve, a monument to a failed experiment. Eris felt her heart skip a beat, but she kept her face calm. This was worse than they had expected. Kalen looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of each delegate. When he spoke, his voice was as steady as before. I will carry your message to Earth. My government will give you an answer within the time you have set. Valerius nodded, looking pleased with himself. Good. We expect humanity to be reasonable. This Concord has cleansed other species that refuse to follow galactic law. We hope you are smarter than those who came before you. As they were escorted from the hall, Eris noticed something strange. The younger delegates looked excited, eager for a conflict. But the older ones, like the ancient, silent being known only as the preserver of the Eldar, seemed worried. The preserver was shaking its head slowly, as if it knew something the others did not. The transmission of the Concord's ultimatum reached Earth's orbital command station, Vigilance, in real time. Fleet Admiral Eva Rostova sat in her command chair, watching the recording with her senior staff. The room was deep inside the station, shielded by meters of armor and sophisticated energy fields. Dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces illuminated by the cool blue light of holographic displays. When the recording of Valerius's final threat ended, the command center was heavy with silence. Every person in the room had heard it. Surrender, or be annihilated. Then, Admiral Rostova began to laugh. It started as a small chuckle, a sound of pure disbelief. Then it grew louder, deeper, until she was laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. Her officers stared at her, their expressions a mixture of shock and confusion. Admiral, asked Commander Siogene, her second-in-command. Are you all right? Rostova wiped her eyes, her face flushed with amusement. She looked around the room, her smile wide and full of a dangerous confidence. They think they can threaten us, she said, her voice full of mirth. 72 hours to surrender, or they'll destroy us all. She laughed again, a sound that echoed through the silent command center. Do they have any idea at all, what they are dealing with? She stood up and walked to the large tactical display that showed the Sol system. Send a message to all fleet commanders. Tell them the Galactic Concord has given us an ultimatum. Tell them we have 72 hours to prepare for war. She turned back to her officers, her smile growing even wider. And send a coded message to Captain Thorne. Tell him his answer is ready. She paused, looking at the image of the clueless, arrogant aliens on the screen. Earth's response to the Galactic Concord is simple. We decline their generous offer. The command center exploded into a flurry of activity. Officers began sending messages across human space, activating protocols that had been dormant for years. Admiral Rostova looked back at the display screen, her eyes bright with anticipation. Let's see how much they really know about humanity, she said to herself. The emergency meeting room in the Global Defense Center in Geneva was filled with tension. President Miri sat at the head of a long table, listening to the recording of the ultimatum. They want us to pull back to Earth, General Wubin said, his voice a low growl. Basically, they want us to become their prisoners in our own home. Minister Swan pulled up industrial reports. Our output has increased by 300% in the last 5 years. Hidden factories throughout the asteroid belt are operating at full capacity. Dr. Young-Soo, head of experimental weapons, smiled. Have they forgotten what happened to the Raisin fleet 6 months ago? They sent 50 ships to test our defenses. How many made it home? None, General Wubin answered. The Raisin reported it as a training accident. The Concord still thinks it was an accident. President Miri looked around the table. For 8 years, they had been preparing, not because they wanted war, but because they understood that in the galaxy, the strong survived. What about our industrial capacity? She asked. Minister Swan's report was staggering. The Luna shipyards can produce 100 ships per week. The asteroid belt facilities, 500. The Mars platforms, 1,000. But those are the official numbers. She brought up a new, encrypted display. The production figures were 3 times higher. We have been stockpiling ships, weapons, and supplies for 8 years, she said. The aliens think they know our military strength. They are seeing less than 20% of our actual forces. The most critical piece of intelligence came from Dr. Hygen, working in her listening post in orbit around Jupiter. Admiral, she reported via secure comms to Rostova. I have something important. The aliens are using intelligence about us that is 8 years old. Their tactical plans are based on our weapons and ships from 2047. They have no information about our advances in nanotechnology, quantum manipulation, or adaptive systems. They are preparing to fight an enemy that no longer exists. Admiral Rostova smiled. The aliens were bringing swords to a gunfight. President Miri's voice came over the system, addressing all human forces, citizens of Earth and her colonies. The Galactic Concord has demanded our surrender. They believe they can threaten us because they outnumber us. They think we are weak because we are young. She paused. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The countdown had begun, but Earth was no longer counting down to surrender. They were counting down to the moment the galaxy would learn to respect humanity. Captain Thorne's ship, the Emissary, transmitted Earth's formal response. It was simple and direct. Earth rejected the Concord's authority and all of its terms. The message ended with a 30-second audio file. The sound of Admiral Rostova's unrestrained, joyous laughter. When the message reached the Citadel, the Great Hall erupted in fury. "They mock us," hissed the Krisk representative. "These primitive mammals dare to laugh at the greatest powers in the galaxy." High Chancellor Valerius slammed his fist on the council table. "If humans want war, they shall have it. I hereby authorize the formation of the largest military force in galactic history. Every member species will contribute their finest ships and warriors." The pledges came in fast. The Valkyrie Empire, 5,000 warships. The Krisk Dominion, 2,000 vessels, and their reality-warping technology. The Hydrian Collective, 3,000 adaptive bioships. Soon, the numbers swelled to over 12,000 vessels. A fleet of unimaginable power. At the far end of the table, the preserver of the Eldar requested a private meeting with the High Chancellor. The ancient creature, his body supported by anti-gravity devices, met Valerius in his private chambers. "Chancellor," the preserver said, his voice a whisper of rustling leaves. "I have concerns about this military action." Valerius scoffed. "What concerns? We have the largest fleet ever assembled. The humans have a few hundred outdated ships. This is not a battle. It is an execution. I have lived long enough to see many species challenge this concord." The preserver continued. "Those that resisted were destroyed. But the few species that laughed when threatened, they were different." "Different how?" "They had secrets," the preserver replied. "Hidden strengths our intelligence failed to detect." The Corvani laughed. "It took us 40 years to defeat them." The Nexus builders laughed. "They transcended physical existence rather than submit." Valerius waved his hand dismissively. "Ancient fears and old stories. Humans are a young species. They have no hidden strengths that can stand against us. Have you asked yourself why they are expanding so aggressively?" The preserver pressed. "Young species are usually cautious, but humans are claiming entire star systems. That suggests either profound foolishness or a confidence based on real, hidden capability." "Your concerns are noted," Valerius said, ending the meeting. "In 48 hours, the human threat will be eliminated." As the preserver left, Valerius looked out the viewport at the massive alien fleet gathering. Thousands of ships, representing centuries of technological and military tradition. The humans had laughed at this force. Soon, they would learn the price of their arrogance. The Concord Armada arrived at the edge of the Sol system exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum was given. 12,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace, a wall of metal and energy that blotted out the stars. High Chancellor Valerius stood on the bridge of his flagship, Galactic Supremacy, watching the display. "Scan for human forces," his general, Crixus, ordered. The sensor officer looked up, his expression one of confusion. "Sir, I detect only 47 human ships in defensive positions around Earth. They appear to be standard patrol vessels and cargo transports. No major warships are visible." Crixus frowned. Intelligence had suggested at least 200 ships. They must be hiding, or they have already surrendered. On Earth, Admiral Rostova watched the alien arrival. "They brought exactly what we thought they would," she said to her staff. "Overwhelming force and outdated intelligence. The alien fleet is forming into attack formation," Admiral, Commander Siogin reported. "They seem surprised by our small defensive force." Rostova smiled. "That's the point. The small fleet visible to alien sensors was a decoy, a piece of cheese in a very large trap. hidden throughout the solar system, invisible to enemy detection, were the real human forces. Colonel Tae-hyun commanded the forward defensive line. His 47 ships looked tiny and pathetic against the massive enemy force. "All ships," he broadcast. "This is Colonel Hyun. Remember the mission. We are not trying to win. We are here to gather data and waste their resources. Make them work for every meter of space. But do not reveal our true capabilities." Not yet. The Concorde fleet advanced slowly. Valerius expected the humans to surrender at any moment. Instead, Colonel Hyun's small fleet moved forward to meet them. "The humans are attacking," General Crixus reported with disbelief. 47 ships against 12,000. They must be insane. The first engagement began. The human ships fired what looked like standard plasma cannons, just as the 8-year-old intelligence reports had predicted. The alien commanders relaxed. But when the human plasma hit the Concorde shields, something strange happened. The plasma beams seemed to learn. Each shot was slightly different, analyzing the shield frequencies and adapting to find weaknesses. On the bridge of the UES Terminus Estate, Captain Suin ordered her weapons officer, "Fire Adaptive Plasma Sequence 7. The Terminus Estate fired what looked like a standard plasma burst. But this plasma was different. It was filled with billions of microscopic nanites that analyzed the target's shields and armor, then reconfigured their own energy pattern to be more effective. A Valkyrie cruiser's shields flared and died. The nanoplasma burned through the ship's armor like acid. A vessel that should have taken hours of bombardment to destroy was left drifting and helpless in seconds. "Impossible," Crixus muttered, watching the tactical display. "Human weapons cannot penetrate Valkyrie shields that easily." More strange reports flooded in. Human ships that should have been destroyed were somehow still fighting. Some appeared to repair themselves in mid-battle. Others seemed to phase in and out of existence, making them impossible to target. Colonel Hyun watched the battle unfold exactly as planned. His ships were putting on a good show, appearing to fight desperately while in reality they were testing every alien weapon and defense system, gathering terabytes of data. "All ships," he ordered, "begin fighting withdrawal. Make it look good. Fall back toward Earth. Let them think they are winning." The human fleet began to retreat, but their withdrawal was bizarre. Ships that appeared heavily damaged would suddenly become fully operational again. Vessels that seemed destroyed would reappear in different locations. Dr. Jihe, from her orbital lab around Mars, analyzed the alien weapons in real time. "The Krisk reality warping weapons operate on quantum frequencies we've never seen," she reported to Rostova. "But their focusing mechanisms are predictable. I can design countermeasures within the hour." Every minute of this battle provided crucial intelligence. By the time the real battle began, Earth would know exactly how to defeat every weapon the Concorde possessed. The Concorde fleet continued its advance, pushing the small human force back toward Earth. High Chancellor Valerius felt a surge of satisfaction. The humans were fighting bravely, but they were clearly outmatched. "Estimate. Ed time to Earth orbit?" he asked. 4 hours at current speed, sir. Human resistance is weakening." But the preserver of the Eldar, watching from the observation deck, noticed something that worried him. The human retreat was too organized, too precise, and their ships were taking almost no real damage. Any rational species would have surrendered by now. Captain Suin on the Terminus Estate received new orders from Colonel Hyun. Phase 2. Revealed defensive capability alpha. She allowed several alien ships to target her vessel with their most powerful weapons. Krisk reality warpers. Valkyrie plasma cannons. Hydrogen bioacid. The attacks hit the Terminus Estate perfectly. The ship should have been vaporized. Instead, something impossible happened. The ship's hull began to flow like liquid metal, absorbing the alien attacks and converting their energy into power for its own systems. "What is that?" General Crixus demanded, pointing at the tactical display. "What kind of armor absorbs reality warping energy?" The answer was nanotechnology, so advanced that the aliens couldn't comprehend it. The human ship's hull was made of billions of microscopic machines that could reshape themselves instantly to counter any attack. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as more human ships revealed impossible defensive capabilities. Admiral Rostova watched the engagement from vigilance. Everything was proceeding as planned. "Phase 1 complete," she announced. The aliens now think they understand our defensive technology. They have no idea what our offensive capabilities really are. The Concorde fleet reached the inner solar system, their formation tight around Earth. Valerius prepared for the final assault. Begin orbital bombardment of Earth, he ordered. Target their industrial centers and military installations. This ends now. But as the Concorde ships moved into attack position, Admiral Rostova gave a new order. An order that would change the galaxy forever. All hidden forces, prepare to reveal yourselves. It is time to show them what humanity is really capable of. Throughout the solar system, thousands of objects that had appeared to be asteroids, space debris, and inactive satellites suddenly powered up. The real human fleet was about to reveal itself, and the Concorde was about to discover they had walked into the largest trap in military history. The battle for Earth was just beginning. As the Concorde fleet prepared to fire, Admiral Rostova spoke a single word into the fleet-wide comm. Reveal. The solar system came alive with brilliant, terrible light. What the aliens had thought were asteroids opened like metallic flowers, revealing massive human warships hidden within. Space stations that looked abandoned powered up weapon systems that made Concorde technology look primitive. The entire asteroid belt exploded with activity as hundreds of hidden shipyards, shielded by stealth technology, launched thousands of new ships. From behind Jupiter's moons, entire fleets emerged from their hiding places. Near Saturn's rings, battle stations the size of small cities activated defensive shields and offensive weapons that glowed with an unknown, terrifying energy. What is happening? General Crixus shouted as his sensors went insane with new contacts. Where are all these ships coming from? The tactical display showed the truth. 30,000 human vessels were powering up. The small defensive fleet had been a decoy. The real human military was 10 times larger than anything the aliens had imagined. Captain Kyung-soo commanded the Jupiter fleet. His flagship, the UES Terra's Fury, was twice the size of the largest alien vessel. All ships, he broadcast. Target the Valkyrie formation. Show them what quantum disruption cannons can do. The Jupiter fleet fired. Their weapons did not shoot energy or projectiles. They fired focused quantum fields that rewrote the basic laws of physics in small pockets of space. When the fields hit the Valkyrie ships, the alien vessels simply stopped existing. They did not explode. They did not burn. They were erased from reality. Commander Huan led the Saturn Defense Wing. Her forces specialized in matter manipulation. Target the Krisk reality warpers, she ordered. Let's see how their technology handles true molecular restructuring. Her ships fired streams of nanomachines. When they hit the Krisk vessels, the ships began to change. Weapons turned into decorative sculptures. Engines bloomed into gardens of inert metal. Armor plating transformed into transparent crystal. On his laboratory ship hidden behind Mars, Dr. Miniok revealed humanity's greatest secret, real-time quantum manipulation of matter. Human ships began to phase in and out of normal space, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making them impossible to target. Their weapons struck from folded space, bypassing shields and armor entirely. The Concorde fleet, caught completely off guard, tried to respond, but their weapons were designed for a war that no longer existed. High Chancellor Valerius watched in horror as his magnificent fleet was systematically destroyed by forces he could not comprehend. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were being eliminated like insects. How is this possible? He demanded. Our intelligence, it said they were primitive. The preserver of the Eldar appeared on his bridge, a shimmering, sad phantom. I tried to warn you, Chancellor. Some species hide their true strength until they are forced to reveal it. Humans have been preparing for this day since they first met us. Captain Borum commanded a special operations fleet equipped with humanity's most secret technology. Instantaneous, faster-than-light communication. Attention, Galactic Concorde fleet. She transmitted on all frequencies, her voice reaching every ship at the exact same moment. Your attack has failed. Your fleets are being destroyed. You have one opportunity to surrender before we demonstrate our most advanced capabilities. The instantaneous communication was the final blow. It proved humans had mastered technologies the Concorde had declared impossible. High Chancellor Valerius realized that continuing the battle would mean the complete destruction of every ship he had. All ships, ceasefire. He ordered, defeat heavy in his voice. Withdraw to a minimum safe distance. The alien fleet pulled back, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. In less than 2 hours, the most powerful military force in galactic history had been reduced to a collection of scared, defeated survivors. Admiral Rostova opened a channel to the alien flagship. Her image appeared on screens throughout the Concord Armada. "High Chancellor Valerius," she said with a polite, chilling smile. "I believe you came here to discuss terms. Earth is prepared to negotiate, but the conversation will now proceed under different circumstances than you originally planned." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Humanity hereby extends an invitation to the Galactic Concord to discuss our rightful place in galactic affairs. You are welcome to send representatives to Earth. However, you will come as equals seeking accommodation, not as superiors delivering ultimatums." The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet in stunned, humiliated silence. The galaxy had threatened humanity with extinction. Humanity had answered with a revelation. And in the silent, broken halls of the Concord, the elder races finally began to understand the warning the Preserver had given them. The species that laughs in the face of death is the one you should fear the most.